platforms that offer investors different ways to get exposure to the cryptocurrency without owning it. Now, this includes Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust, which trades on the OTC market. While Bitcoin is up 300% over the past 6 months, the trust has gained well over 700%. One metric traders also look at is net asset value, calculated by taking the number of Bitcoin the fund holds divided by the number of shares outstanding, which currently equals 423. But as you can see in this chart, the Bitcoin Investment Trust is trading over $1,000 today. Traders say this means there's more demand for the product than there are shares available. But keep in mind, the Bitcoin Investment Trust is working with the SEC to get it registered as an ETF and listed on the New York Stock Exchange this fall. If approved, that could potentially create more shares. Back to you, Melissa.
All right, Seema, thank you very much. Karen, you have noticed this diversion.
Yes, this is it, right. This really isn't a Bitcoin story. This security is terrible to express the Bitcoin bet. It almost doesn't matter what Bitcoin does. Up, down, flat. Over time, this will collapse. I don't know when it could double. The premium could double before it collapses, but there is just no reason that this should exist in this premium. It's ridiculous.
All right, not everyone's on board with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which Seema Modi was talking about. Citron Research founder Andrew Left is actually shorting this trust. He joins us now from Los Angeles to explain why he thinks it is, quote unquote, the most dangerous way to own Bitcoin. Andrew, welcome to you. We saw very clearly in the chart that the discrepancy between the underlying and what the trust is trading at right now. How do you think this comes crashing down? How does it unwind?
Okay, well, there's two parts to it. So I'm not going to right now discuss how the net asset value is twice the amount of the underlying Bitcoin. That's already been discussed. That alone is completely ridiculous. But on top of that, just go read the SEC filings and you'll see they do not even have insurance for the Bitcoin that they are custodians of. And actually, I'll quote this to you. We've been advised that our custodian did not renew its insurance coverage. That also makes it bad. On top of that, what makes it even worse is you're not even guaranteed to get the distribution of Bitcoin Cash. And it also says that in the filing. So this is bad and worse all rolled up into one.
Let's be clear. You are short this trust. That's not an easy thing to do. Can you give us a sense of the size of your position and when did you put this on?
I put it on recently. Very fortunate about that. I could have been short from a while ago because the same premise did occur a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even though right now the difference between the net asset value and the price is at as large as it's ever been. But I am short recently. And I don't discuss my size.
Andrew, it's Karen. Let me ask you a couple things. Those fine points you made are great because those are really important. But on the bigger picture, is this a hedge trade for you? You're long Bitcoin and short this just for the collapse of the premium? Or do you also want to be making an embedded bet there on Bitcoin going down?
That's a good question. And the answer is I'm half hedged, half unhedged. I actually think, and this is no statement, I'm not here to opine on the future of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, but simply as someone who's been trading markets in general for close to 30 years, you have a certain level of understanding. And that would be the higher things go, the more thin the air becomes. And most importantly, it's interesting to note, you can't short Bitcoin, or if you can, you do it in small doses, which means if Bitcoin does come down, and when it comes down eventually at some level, you don't have shorts there to hold it up. So because that, and because of the rise, I am short Bitcoin straight outright through this instrument, and I'm hedged also partially through this instrument.
Andrew, have you ever seen anything similar to this? Could you make an argument that GLD is the same to this instrument as
not
gold?
Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
So GLD and gold, they work in tandem.
Pretty much, yeah. And GLD is a wonderful alternative instead of owning physical gold, no doubt. And by the way, right now in the workings, the SEC has many ETFs that will probably be in existence in the next 6 months that will track Bitcoin a lot closer, if not definitively closer. If anything, they should be trading at a discount to Bitcoin because of the fees that they take out of it. But there will be, I think, if you look at any terminal or go look at the news between the CBOE and the SEC, there will probably be 6 to 7 approved products in the next 6 months that are synthetic or ETFs where people can trade cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and that'll certainly change the dynamic. Andrew, you are so were so outraged, or have been so outraged by this whole situation. You've actually reached out to the SEC. Have you gotten any sort of response from them?
No, I wish I could just call them up. Hello, SEC. No problem, Mr. Left. We'll take care of that right away. You know, it's not like that. I just think the SEC should put a warning out there for investors. They put a warning out about ICOs last week. This is dangerous. There's a lot of people possibly who don't want to open a Coinbase account, who are afraid to open a crypto wallet, who thinks, wow, this is a publicly traded instrument. Maybe it's a good default. And then they can wake up and they're down 40% on their investment without Bitcoin even moving. So it definitely needs the SEC to step in, put a skull and crossbones, or when you buy it, you have to sign some form of a agreement that you understand what you're doing with it because of what this instrument is.
All right, Andrew, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. Andrew Left of Citron Research. I'm sure a lot of people out there are looking at what they hold and how they hold it right now. By the way, we reached out to Grayscale for a comment on Left's warning about their product. Grayscale replying that because they currently have a registration statement on file with the SEC, federal securities laws prevent them from commenting. So what do you make of the future, Andrew's predictions on this particular trust?
First of all, I think Andrew's said, I'm not going to get out there and make a statement on Bitcoin. I'm just going to say this is way overpriced. We've seen this many times in many different securities where you trade at a massive premium. By the beginning of the year, this same trust traded 1/5 the value. So in other words, it was 80% too cheap to the underlying Bitcoin amount. So I think this goes on in markets all the time. I think investors have to know what they're doing, and I think it's going to happen again.
Karen?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, just risk reward, my favorite trade that he's ever brought up. Well, for me, I do believe in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. They're so volatile. I know it could be, you know, it's a very risky trade. I get that. But just this instrument, if you can stay short, and probably most people can't, but if one could. And I tried to borrow just to find out, just to
Well, it's an ARB. It's an ARB.
Right, it is an ARB. That if you can stay short the ARB, you will make money.
Right.
A lot of money, potentially.
But for most people who cannot be in this trade at all, but who are in this trust for whatever reason,
you're in for
you would say,
open a Bitcoin account,
and drop this.
Yes.
Do you know, this goes, I was not aware of this, Overstock, right, accepts Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It was 10% that they were saving in Bitcoin. Now it's 50%. Have you looked at the chart? It's up 25% year to date. It tracks Bitcoin in lockstep.
Really?
Unbelievable. Where everyone wrote off Overstock, going out of business, they get a Bitcoin angle to them and they shoot straight up the month of August. But for the ETFs, that's a high bar to hurdle when you apply to the SEC. So don't think there's going to be a dozen ETFs just yet, because the SEC probably doesn't understand Bitcoin either.
The quick takeaway, I don't think many people can do what Andrew's, to Karen's point, but my takeaway is, it's not, his bet is not an indictment on Bitcoin. I think that has to be clear to people. He's not saying that Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are not viable.
Right.
It's this instrument. I think if there's one takeaway, it's that.
Absolutely. Still ahead, shares of Apple at an all-time high today, with the stock up more than 10% in the past month, ahead of its big